It's protecting the relationship, because if I can take a timeout rather than being emotionally charged and coming at a person in a way that's really not helpful, I'm protecting the relationship. Hello, you gorgeous and sexy soul. Welcome to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationships you possibly can. My name is Jamie Lynn, and I'm going to lead you through an experience that I had recently in order to explain a way that you can deal with anger and sadness and fear. And the reason why I want to give you a clear example is because I often learn so well from hearing other people's experience. Like, I'm not somebody who just hears theory and understands. I tend to be a more experiential person. And so having an explanation of here's how it might look is helpful for me, and I hope it is helpful for you too. I want to first give you just 5 simple steps that you can move through to help yourself diffuse anger. In particular is what I'm going to talk about today. It could be anything though. It could be anxiety, it could be fear, it could be shame, but anger is going to be the one that we focus on today, and then maybe other times I'll do other emotions. But let me just list these things first. So the very first step, I'm talking in interactions with people that you're in relationship with. And so this would work definitely with partners, and also probably with family and friends and coworkers. So yeah, this is interactions with other people that are challenging, where you get big feelings, and I'm going to talk about anger as the example. So the very first step is calling a timeout. The next step is doing a U-turn. After that, you self-soothe, and then you find compassion and curiosity for the other person. And then the final step, you've got some options. You might want to set a boundary. You might want to try and have a conversation. If you choose to have a conversation, then a wonderful blueprint for that would be like the NVC, nonviolent communication model. And I'll get into both of those options a little bit, but not much in this video. I just want to lay out these steps more than anything. So let me tell you what happened, and then I'll start moving through the steps as I went through them with this example. So I don't know if you know this, but it's June right now, and June is Pride Month. I am a pansexual person, so that means that I am attracted to everyone, all different gender presentations. And I say pansexual, that's probably the most accurate term, but I usually just call myself queer. Queer is the right term for me. And so what happened, it's Pride Month, and I had a conversation with a family member who I love dearly, who is such a kind soul. And in this conversation, we were talking about how there's a queer couple in the new Marvel movie, Doctor Strange, and they said to me over the phone, I don't like that they're normalizing that. Rage. The thing that I felt was like white hot fury coming up inside of me, and all kinds of things wanted to pop out of my mouth. F you, how could you say that? I can't believe that you're such a bigot. I can't believe that you would say that to me. Like, all these things wanted to come out of my mouth, and I will not lie, a little bit of it slipped out. The thing that I said, it was kind of a shocked tone. I held the anger back pretty well. But I said, hey, you know that's homophobic, right? And we started to get into it. And then I caught myself really angry. I started to hear that my tone was escalating. I felt the white hot rage. And I decided to say, I cannot continue this conversation. I'm going to need to hang up, and we'll talk later. And so I hung up the phone, and that would be like the timeout. I did not call a timeout specifically like I would do with a partner, where I say, I need a timeout. I'll be back in 20 minutes. We'll talk then. But instead, it was just recognizing that I was not doing okay, and that I would start shouting if I stayed on the phone. And so that was the timeout move. I'm going to take a break. I can't stay here. And what that does is it's really protecting them. It's protecting them from whatever big feelings I'm having that might come out in a reactive way. It's protecting the relationship, because if I can take a timeout rather than being emotionally charged and coming at a person in a way that's really not helpful, I'm protecting the relationship. And honestly, I'm also protecting me, because my integrity says, like, don't lose your cool on other people. It's unacceptable to get that emotionally reactive and just lose it on someone, even if they said something that was deeply upsetting and I fully disagree with. So I take the pause, time out, and then once I get off the phone, I do what's called a U-turn, where my mind is on them initially. My mind is going, how could they believe that? Don't they understand that that kind of thinking hurts people? Don't they know that I'm queer and that that would be deeply hurtful to me? How could they be such a effing bigot? Like, all of these things are running through my mind about them. But where the magic is if I turn that attention around and I actually pay attention to me instead. So that's the U-turn move. I'm not looking out at them anymore. I'm going, whoop, hello, what's happening inside of me? And so I start paying attention inside, and the first thing I came in contact with was the anger. Yeah, anger, I see you. You really, really are angry at them, and you want them to get that what they said was hurtful. I see you. And then if I went a little bit deeper after seeing the anger, what was under that was fear and hurt. So the fear is, how could someone so loving think this thing about queer folks? Don't they understand that that hurts people? And then the hurt, it should be pretty obvious, I imagine, but the hurt was just like deep pain that someone I love would say something that is oppressive towards my community. And so once I got to those places, the fear and the hurt, what I did next was just let myself feel it. Like, I probably cried for half an hour, and then I started doing the next step, self-soothing. Some of self-soothing is actually like me taking care of myself, but there was something else that I did before that. I started reaching out to people I love. I called some of my best friends, and they helped me to like just speak what happened. And in doing that, I was able to get the story out some and feel a little bit better, and also have the social connection, which is regulating. And then once that happened, eventually I went for a walk to just kind of cool down some more. And I spent about probably 4 or 5 hours that day just kind of doing things that felt nice. Eating really healthy, drinking water, doing yoga, going outside, things like that. Anything I could to just kind of nourish myself after having a really stressful experience. The next step, finding compassion and curiosity towards the other person, is probably one of the hardest. I was lucky. I had just finished reading The Gift, which is Edith Eger's book. It's a beautiful book. If you have not read it, I definitely suggest it. But there's one part where she talks about a young man that she worked with. She was a psychologist who was also a Holocaust survivor. And she had a young man come to the hospital where she was working, and he was saying things like, I wish I could just kill all the Jews, all the Mexicans, all the Black people, like all of the non-white and oppressed groups. I wish I could just kill all of them. And her initial reaction was rage at this kid. She wanted to shake him and say, like, don't you know what I've been through? But then she has this little voice inside that says, find the bigot in you. And so I had just read that book, and it helps me to reflect on, okay, I could get really mad at this family member. I could stay angry at them, but I would honestly be doing the exact same thing that they're doing to me. They have a position about people that is hateful and unkind. And I could do the same thing to them. I could stay in hateful and unkind. How dare you say this? You are such a bad person. And so instead, where I was able to go was like, okay, can I be curious? What might actually be happening that it's scary for this family member to witness mainstream media normalizing queer folks? Like, that's the place I eventually came to whenever I just opened up to, can I be even a little bit curious? Can I be even a little bit compassionate towards their way of being? It helps that this family member is a sweetheart, like a true love bug. And they're not queer, so they don't understand. And so I can have some compassion towards that too. Like, you've never been touched by the pain and oppression that LGBTQ folks feel. And so I can have compassion there. And then eventually the curiosity. And then finally, the final step, after going through all of that, I have a choice. Am I going to set a boundary? Am I going to try and have a conversation? I went with having a conversation. The conversation I had was really that final curiosity thought, like, what's going on that this is upsetting to you? Tell me more. I want to know more. And we had a really interesting conversation out of it. And in my staying calmer, I was able to educate a little bit too. And I don't know if it made a difference in the way that I'm hoping it will, but that's not really the point. The point is to just be loving and see, maybe this will make a difference. Who knows? If I was going to set a boundary, it might be something like, if you talk about queer folks in a way that is oppressive or unkind, I will tell you that you're doing that, and then I'm going to leave the conversation. And if it continues, I might not be able to stay in relationship with you. That would be more of a boundary conversation. And then in NVC, nonviolent communication, it would look and sound more like, this is what happened. Here's how I felt about it. Would you be willing to do this? You said something that was homophobic, and you may not realize that, which if you're interested in why, I can share that with you. I felt deeply hurt and scared and angry. Would you be willing to look at your views on people who are queer? Okay. You could use these steps in any of your relationships. It is a wonderful thing to use in partnership, though, because our partners tend to push our buttons. And so often we look out at them with blame and anger or anxiety sometimes. And instead of doing that, the moves are take a pause, calm yourself down, take space. Start doing the U-turn. What's happening inside of me? Stop focusing on them. What's going on with me? And then once you're with that and you understand, start to self-soothe, reach out to people who are going to help you process, or you can just do things like go for walks, do something creative. Anything that's going to release stress is going to be a great option here for self-soothing. After that, trying to find curiosity or compassion towards that other person who upset you. And then finally, deciding what you're going to do from there. Are you going to have a boundaries conversation? Are you going to have a conversation that's based in curiosity and trying to understand their perspective? Are you going to have a conversation where you do a vulnerable share and let them know, here's what happened inside of me. Can we work on this together? So you have options for the final step. I really hope this is helpful. Thank you for watching. Remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.